Man, we're live, brother. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm pretty good, man. I'm still in work clothes, man. We had to kind of set this time for 6 o'clock because of the obviously Dallas Cowboy Tampa Bay game tonight. Fantasy football league starts tonight. I think Jeremy has a kicker going. I don't think I have anybody going. I think my opponent has I think a wide receiver for Tampa Bay going tonight. So we'll definitely be watching that. But we're also Cowboy fans, so that game starts at 7:20. So we wanted to get on here, obviously do our game day preview for Saturday, Arkansas and Texas. If you didn't have an opportunity to look at the, I guess we call it a thumbnail. It's actually thrown back Southwest Conference style. Jeremy said, what do we want to see on the thumbnail? I threw out some ideas to make it look a little bit retro. And then our producer slash our high dollar producer there made a pretty thumbnail, man, that I really liked. Kind of a throwback to this game this weekend. So definitely excited, man. How you doing today, dude?
Dude, I'm great, man. Took my Army Combat Fitness test this morning. Again, it's not really a thing until 2023. I kind of wanted to see where I was at. Took that very early this morning and felt pretty good afterwards. But yeah, just excited about, like you said, renewing an old rivalry. The retro theme is really cool. Colleen really brought that together. It was awesome. And then, of course, we got some fantastic news today on the recruiting front with young Justice Finkley, the kid out of Trussville, Hewitt Trussville in Trussville, Alabama, committing to Texas. Many thought that he was going to go to Alabama, but you pulled a kid. The number 112 player in the nation is joining that stout offense or stout defensive line they've been putting together over the last couple of months.
Yeah, big commitment. I was actually watching it on, I think, CBS HQ. Hell, it felt like it took him like 15 minutes to actually get him to pick his hat. They had ran through a couple of interviews and some, I guess, a couple of clips of him playing. And it was like, we're going to get to the hat pick eventually at some particular point. And they finally did it. And I texted Jeremy because I figured he'd probably been busy at work. That we got him. I think this defensive line may be closed at this particular point, unless you're pulling some guy that may be a 5-star out of Duncanville, Texas. It's hard to turn those guys down. But at the same time, you only have 20. I think we're currently 21 scholarships currently. You probably only have room for probably 5 to 7 more. And I think those are probably going to come from the offensive line. And probably skill positions at this particular point.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. 26 to 28, probably scholarships allocated. I understand the Keith Ron Lee left the program, so that's another one that's available. But yeah, I think you start looking at the wide receiver position. I think you probably find another corner or two and look at safety. But I think, and then of course we understand the offensive line. So probably at best 7 scholarships, 2 OL, hopefully exterior guys, tackles, maybe 2 corners, and then a safety. But then I think it depends on Jalil Skinner if we're looking tight end. I think there's scholarships still out there. But like you said, at this time, the focus needs to be on probably another safety, a couple corners, and offensive line.
Yeah, which leads me to obviously set up a big couple of recruiting weekend. Looks like it's going to probably be October 16th against Oklahoma State. Currently got the offensive tackle Green out there in the great Northwest up there, or California, right? California,
California.
Yep. California, yeah. Out west is scheduled to visit to Oklahoma or for the Oklahoma State game. It sounds like Larry Turner Gooden, again out of California as well, that's currently committed to Arizona State. Probably looking at him as safety as well is currently looking at coming to that game. And I think what you say, Brennan Thompson is we're looking at the Rice game next weekend.
Yep, September 16th. Yep.
Yeah. So brings me to my next question, man. How does the production this year reflect on recruiting skill positions on both sides of the ball? I think if you're consistently, if you stay consistent where you're at, I think it's a starter. I think it's really the tenders are starting to get going. I think as you move through the season, I think as you get, obviously Whittington having a big game. Someone was in our comments this last weekend talking about, I think it was the first time since 2019 we actually had a 100-yard rusher and a receiver in the same game, which was a nice gem there in our comments. Not something I actually went back and looked at, but I'm gonna take his word for it. His or her word for it. But I think they said the first time we've had that. I think if you consistently do that through the season, I think what you're looking right now is really just closing out those skill positions. The guys like Evan Stewart, the Brennan Thompsons, and then moving into 23 and a guy like Reuben Owens at that running back position. So I think that's currently where we sit at as far as production goes versus where we're at.
I think like you're talking about skill positions. So I think the running backs are off the table for this particular year because you got Jaden Blue in the class, you got Jermaine Miller in the class.
Mm-hmm.
I think the guys you're talking about, we talked about how Joshua Moore's production and Worthy's production may affect a guy like Evan Stewart. But I go back and I look at Whittington and his body type and how a kid out of Louisiana just recently dropped Texas in their top 4. And I think we got a legitimate shot to get Shaz Preston, one of the kids out of Louisiana. We're recruiting that area very, very well. Like I said, coming off Whittington's performance, you could see him being that versatile, bigger guy in that package. But so Shaz Preston's the name to look for. If Jordan Whittington continues to produce, I see those guys as being similar. And like I said, if Worthy and Joshua Moore continue to be productive, I think you could be looking at guys like Brendan Thompson, Evan Stewart. But I think running back's sold. I think it's done. I think safety's pretty much done with Brian Allen Jr. and Austin Jordan. Again, you got another safety coming in, maybe Larry Turner Gooden or Jacoby Matthews. I think safety's down to one player. And then but corners. We need a couple of corners left. So that's the skill position I'm looking to solidify in Pete Kwiatkowski's defense, and then to help with recruiting for the 2022 class.
Yeah, I think the wide receiver piece comes down to what you see in Xavier Worthy, and we'll get down to leading receivers or who we think would lead receiver is going to be out of the Arkansas game, leading pass catchers. Again, a slot guy like Jordan Whittington, he may be a little bit bigger than those guys based on stature and size, but I think he has the fluidity of a slot receiver.
Definitely want to plug got a couple super chats already in here. Cody Phillips, $5, our resident statistician for Texas Football Talk. Only memory of Arkansas is the 2014 Texas Bowl. We were held to 59 total yards of total offense. Been looking forward to this ever since. Yeah, I remember that game very vividly. Actually got a chance to go back and see that when I went back in my Phil Steele's, chronicle of their performances in bowl games over the last couple of years. And yeah, it was pretty monumental. They beat us 31-7 that particular game. So yeah, we got vengeance. Like you said, vengeance is sweet. Let's go into Fayetteville this weekend and do what we're supposed to do, and that's beat Arkansas. And then I'm going to throw up another one, unless you have a comment on that.
No.
So Scott Sheridan with the $25 super chat. It keeps going up with Scott Sheridan. Hey, brothers, I'm predicting 45-14. I like all our teams, offense, defense, and special teams. Yeah, we'll give a prediction again, probably in the last 5-10 minutes of the show, where we see we'll talk running back production, wide receiver production, Hudson Card's production for this weekend. Some hot takes are coming at the end of the show. But thank you, Scott, again. 25 hard-earned dollars, coming to Texas Football Talk. We really, really appreciate it. And I want to throw this up real quick, too. Johnny Munoz, congratulations on the 3,000 subs. Brothers, again, at the end of the last podcast, Monday, Labor Day podcast, we were able to hit 3,000. Again, there was an unwritten rule or an unspoken rule between me and Clint or Gold that we wanted to get 3K by opening day. We were 2 days shy of that, but I feel like if we'd have worked that weekend, we went to the lake, we might have got that. But really, really, really appreciate the growth of this channel over the last year. I think we're well on our way to probably big numbers this year if the in-game chat numbers that we received and then the post-game numbers we received are indicative of the passion behind this team and the passion behind this channel.
Yeah, it was funny because I was talking to my daughter last night. We were having a conversation. I don't remember exactly what the conversation was about. We were driving to Chick-fil-A, and I told her, because I told her you start thinking. You're 17 years old. I said this is when you start really having to start thinking on your own, not following the crowd that you want to follow. And I said a perfect example of that is that when me and your uncle started this channel, we realized that bad things sell. You know what I'm saying? In firing a coach. And I was trying to get her to understand that just because you read it or hear it or your friends are talking about it, doesn't always mean it's true. I said, you need to go out there and you need to, because obviously people are going to go towards the negative. And it was, but it was just that conversation I had. But it's the way that it started, you know what I'm saying? And how fast it's gone. But again, I always want to make sure that we, when you come here and we're on a live, that you feel like that we're sitting around a fire somewhere and a bunch of chairs with some coolers and stuff, and we're drinking beer or whatever your drink of choice is, water, or for my guy there, I think it's Big Red for David Williams. I think he's a big red drinker, and I won't forget that, David Williams. So if we ever meet, I'll make sure we got you a big red available there. But it's really, really awesome to think where we were at last year when we first started this to currently where we're at in the second game of the season. Stay on the recruiting piece real quick, because I think this is something Jeremy talked about before we actually got on here a while ago. And it is from David Williams. It may not be likely, but I hope Jamon Tapp and Justice Finkley remain at that 250 mark at 6'3", 250. They both could play weak side defensive end. Both of them are ultra athletic and can rush the passer.
So what I talked about is if you go look at the prototypical linebacker, and I'm not saying these guys will play linebacker. I'm just saying that body type, 6'3", 250, going back to Jamon's dimensions, I think he was 6'4" and 240, or 6'3", 245. That's the size of linebackers. I don't know if their agility will allow them to do that. I haven't even watched Justice Finkley's tape yet. But I think, like you, David, that size dimension allows you to be more versatile. But got to go back and watch Justice Finkley's film to figure out where I think he best served in Pete Kwiatkowski's defense. But definitely when I saw, their dimensions, I was thinking, that's that big linebacker body that Alabama has that's able to run from sideline to sideline and knock people on the ground. Is the kind of guys we're recruiting currently in this class.
So I actually went back because again, 𝗟𝗡𝗗𝗦𝗧 is a transfer in from Notre Dame, right? And I kind of wanted to go back and see the history of his recruiting. And when he was recruited to Notre Dame, he actually was a 6'3", 190-pound outside linebacker, and has grown into 6'3", 240 pounds, do it all. Defensive end, linebacker, be able to play in space. And I think that's what Pete Kwiatkowski is going to be looking for going forward, is somebody that has that agility and is able to obviously move their hips, but also be able to play around the box. So you don't have to bring them off the field, depending on, doesn't matter if it's first, second, third down, or a distance. And I think that's important moving forward as well when you're looking at these guys.
Yeah, definitely agree.
Definitely excited about 𝗟𝗡𝗗𝗧 after watching that game. That I've watched the game probably multiple times since then. What is that? They call it the fast forward on LHN. I've watched the entire one, and then I go back and I've watched that a couple of times, man. But 𝗟𝗡𝗗𝗧, I just don't see him leaving the field very much this year. If he consistently plays like he did against Louisiana.
Yeah, you're talking about that overdrive program?
Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah.
So Candace Queenbee, she's going to get some pork ribs and fire them up on Saturday. Hey, guys, it's a great day for Texas. Again, the commitment of Justice Finkley, getting ready for game 2 of the Sarkisian area, going up to Fayetteville, Arkansas to renew an old rivalry and possible, renewed rivalry when we join the SEC here, hopefully next year. But so very happy that you're with us. Enjoy those ribs.
So Chase Peterson's got a recruiting question here. With already 21 guys committed, does that mean recruiting is going to slow down throughout the season, or can more than 25 guys accept scholarships? Absolutely, you can go up. You have a limit. Obviously, there's going to be a limit of how many scholarships you want to give out per year. We're thinking probably somewhere between 25. Really, probably 25, probably at the most 28, depending on where you're currently sitting at. And if you can get a guy like Harold Perkins, who you don't expect at a particular point, or an Omari Babor from Duncanville, who's also a 5-star, you're definitely not going to turn those guys away. So if your season peaks at the right time, around that December time frame, going to January, when some of these guys are going to sign, and you had a really, really good season. And you can get these guys to the fold. I just don't think you can't tell them no at that particular point. That's why you'll see it go over that 25 mark. But yeah, it's probably going to slow down a little bit. I think this staff didn't want to do a lot of recruiting in season. They wanted to focus on the team and then have very little really official visits during game weeks, because they wanted to be able to focus on the team. But then if you listen to Justice Finkley in his comments today, that he said Sarkisian had reached out to him since really he's taken over his recruiting is 3 or 4 times a week, to include game week and fall camp and so on and so forth. So I think it's more just hanging on these guys by telephone, let them know that you're still around, that you care about them. But I think you want to limit it during game week on how many official visits they wanted to have.
Yeah, and I'll go back to one thing you touched on, was the scholarship limit. There's 85 scholarship. That's the limit. There's no limit to a class, but like Clint said, to keep the classes kind of feeding each other as you get seniors, and you got to look at your roster and figure out how many are graduating or going to be draft eligible and moving on. And then you feel, based upon your positions of need or similar to the NFL. I mean, Steve Sarkisian's talked about having a pro style player personnel department. That's exactly what you're doing. You're looking at your total depth chart, your total roster, and you're trying to improve in certain positions that you feel like you're weak at, or that you're going to have attrition through, like I say, through graduation or transfer or draft eligibility.
Yeah. So I think recruiting talk, 15 minutes there we spent on recruiting. I think we kind of get into the game action here. Probably going to stick on here probably about 45 minutes tonight, I think is what we're thinking. Kind of get into the numbers a little bit based on what we see from Pro Football Focus in Arkansas, what we see from KJ Jefferson at this KJ Jefferson, what we see from him as far as the quarterback goes and where he looks like he's throwing the ball against Rice. I would say, if you go back, and I had an opportunity to look at that Arkansas-Rice game, don't let it fool you as much as coming out slow start and be able to change and adjust what they were doing in the second half. Obviously Rice, we'll play them next weekend. We'll kind of see where we're at against Rice next weekend. But they played them. They played them tough through really 3 quarters. I think they were down, and then I think they went 31. I think scored 31 unanswered points to make it 38-17, I believe. Was the final score of that game. But I think we have some opportunities. I think we have some opportunities both on offense and defense to be able to play like we did against Louisiana. But I think they also have opportunities to maybe do some things on offense if we're not careful. So kind of just breaking down the numbers here. If you got obviously this is going to be a trenches game. So I kind of want to dig in the numbers with the trenches, because I think where our strength is probably on the interior defensive line with our defensive tackle and nose tackles. And if you go up here and you look at where they're at as far as Pro Football Focus, where they graded out, you're looking at the center and the guard, Ricky Stromberg, who's playing center, and then who played majority of the guard snaps, and Brady Latham. Really, from a pass block standpoint, you're looking at an average probably around 43.3 and 34.2. So I think that may be an opportunity there at that guard center combo to be able to obviously stop the run, which they're going to try to obviously. I think run is where it starts at, both from the running back and their quarterback.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah, the strength on their offensive line is definitely the tackles with Myron Cunningham and Dalton Wagner. They scored out in the 70 percentile. So very, very good pass blocking for both those guys when it's in the 80 percentile. So they're like Clint just described, their weakest link is in the center guard combo. So I anticipate that Keandre, Morrow, Devondre, and those guys will continue to rotate through, similar to what they did against Louisiana, and try to burn those guys up as much as they possibly can to play tricks on them. Because again, I think they're probably weakest link to their offense is probably their pass game, and then again the center guard combination. I think we got to stop the run and make Jefferson beat us. Like
that's exactly. And we'll get into that. We'll get into probably the keys of the game and probably what needs to happen from an offensive defense standpoint to come out with a victory in what's going to be probably the most exciting game they've had in Fayetteville, Arkansas in a long time. I think it's first sellout since 2017 is what it sounds like. And now they've decided they want to start selling standing, standing only tickets as well. So I think it's probably going to be the biggest probably crowd they've had there, maybe break a record for attendance. Jeremy's talking about, obviously we'll get to the keys of the game. But if you go back and look at it again, Pro Football Focus has given them a 78.7 when you're talking about run block, and then you're talking about pass block, you're looking at an average of 52.7. So obviously run blocking is something that is their strong suit, and that's what they're going to try to do the entire game, not just with their running back, but with their quarterback as well, who ran for, I believe it was 8 carries for 89 yards on Saturday. And it wasn't so much just the run game. It's breaking down, not be able to find a receiver and taking off, which is definitely something we're going to have. And I think if you go back and look at Louisiana, 𝗟𝗏𝗘 𝗦𝗧 was spying, their quarterback for the majority of the game, making sure that he didn't get outside the pocket. And I think the rush lanes stayed pretty good as well. I think the rush lanes were consistent. I think you had rushers that were able to get with the field, but at the same time, they didn't collapse to allow someone to get out and leak out. And because I think he ended the game for 6 carries for 11 yards, I think minus 19 for a net of minus 19 if you count sack yards as well.
Yeah, I just think their strengths are the same as ULL's. You got to stop them with the run game and make them throw the ball. And that's our strong suit. That's our strength. Is our interior defensive line and slowly becoming our linebackers. But then you got guys like coming on that play, can play linebacker and then move to an end position in 𝗟𝗟𝗗𝗦𝗧. So yeah, really excited. I think it's going to be a similar game plan to what we had against University of Louisiana. But it starts with stopping the run, and we're pretty good at that. Been pretty good at that for the last 2 years.
So we got a super chat here. Look forward. So the Hero Fury $5 super chat. Looking forward to the show all day, man. Hookem, appreciate it. Lifetime Longhorn fan from Fayetteville, and am getting to see the team for the first time in person on Saturday, man.
That's awesome.
Enjoy. It's gonna be exciting, man. I know that there were some tickets on Twitter that were pushed out yesterday. I guess there were a couple of tickets. I sent Jeremy a message to see if he wanted to go to Arkansas this weekend. I never got any return back from him. So I guess he didn't want to make that 10-hour drive to Fayetteville, Arkansas this weekend. Stay in 𝗟𝗟𝗗𝗦𝗧 and enjoy the game up there. So I did send it because I was contemplating actually going up there or seeing if I could get those tickets and going up there. Okay. I want to here. I think this is a good one.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. At Charles, he's talking at Victor. ULL didn't do anything but flood routes and run dive and zone. They coached and played scared. I believe they played risk averse too as well. I don't think they were willing to. I think, and that's the problem when you go into someone else's stadium where you're having to deal with a home crowd. I think there has to be some risk involved. And if you're not willing to take a risk, you're really winning. You're playing to not lose versus to win, and we've dealt with that. I believe, because I think there has to be some kind of risk involved. Do I think they did some risky things and kicking an onside kick and doing some other things to make sure they didn't blow it out, to get blown out and know that they needed to keep it closer to what it was? But I think if you look at the offense, I don't think they took a lot of risk. I think I don't know if it was confusion from the quarterback, what PK was doing to confuse the quarterback so that he couldn't make reads, or he just was scared to make a bad decision, which was going to cost his team a possession. That's the way I looked at it.
Yeah, no, I agree with the risk averse and maybe the conservative game plan on offense, but I didn't, they tried 2 onside kicks, one that in the time of the game where you anticipated an onside kick because you have to, and then another one when they tried to get one over on, Jeff Banks and his kick return team, which BJ Foster made a hell of an athletic play to recover. But yeah, I just think it was probably a little bit of both. Like you come in there and you want to be conservative because you don't want to find yourself far behind and with no chance to catch up. But at the same time, trying to grind the clock down and hold the ball from Hudson and the offense, and most importantly, Bijan. But yeah, definitely, I think it was a combination of both. Our defensive game plan, they're wanting to keep it close to play conservative, but I think they weren't totally risk averse because, like I said, they tried to onside kick when it wasn't really the time of the game to do so. But
I think from a play call standpoint, but again, I think you have to. That onside kick came because you had to steal a possession. I think you were trying to steal a possession because I know if they got the ball back, we were going to go down and score again, and then the game's almost out of hand at that particular point because you may not have enough possessions to come back. David Williams, the corners weren't tested at all against Louisiana, but Deshaun Jameson, Josh Thompson, and Anthony Cook's ability to cover the 3 Arkansas receivers will be huge in Texas winning this Saturday. I'm hoping they have to throw the ball against Texas this weekend because that means you've stopped the run, which is what they want to do. They want to take the air out of the ball. They want to run their running backs, run their quarterback. So I'm hoping that they throw it more than what we expect them to throw it. Means that they're playing behind, which I think is what we have to come out there and do. I think if we're looking at how we need to start, I think again you're on the road. Arkansas fans are going to be excited. I think the best way to shut them up the fastest is to get off to a hot start. Score a couple of touchdowns and make them play behind, so they have to throw the ball. I'm just going to give you some numbers real quick. I think you want to say something real quick, and then I'll give you some numbers.
Well, just their strength of their offensive line is the same as ours. They're better run blockers than they are pass blockers, and they're going to try, like you said, to run their quarterback, run their running back behind what is the strength of their offensive line. And only after you stop that or they fall behind by a couple of touchdowns are they going to feel like they have to start throwing it. So that's the predicament you want to get them in, because then on known passing downs, Pete Witkowski, Jeff Choate, and that group, along with the secondary coach, Terry Joseph, can start manipulated the game plan and tried to disguise some things and make some plays.
And if you go back and look at the pass chart here, I pulled up the pass chart for KJ Jefferson here. Not a lot of shots over the top. He took one shot over the top was more than 20 yards. He actually completed it for 31 yards. Majority of his shots, almost like Hudson Card's, are intermediate shots, either to the middle of the field. I think they want to beat you to the middle of the field. I think that's running and passing. He only completed two throws to the right side, outside right. One of those he completed, but everything else was really between the numbers and outside left, if you looked at it. And everything was kind of intermediate. I think he checked down one time for an incomplete pass, but other than that, it was really between that 0 and 10 mark and that really 10 to 20 mark. 10 to 20 yard mark is where he was completing most of his passes, which majority of them were up the center. So I think one of the things Texas is going to have to look out for, and I think I've seen it a couple of times during the Louisiana game, is those tight ends. They didn't use them very much, but the tight ends up the seam were let loose a couple of times. And I think that's because of the defense you were running, that bend don't break kind of defense, let everything kind of shell in front of you and make those tackles. I think they got to be watching those tight ends who don't get a lot of work in that Arkansas in offense, but I think you have to be concerned about it if they are going up those seams the way that he is throwing the ball up the seam.
Yeah, I mean, he only completed one ball outside 20 yards, and that was one catch for 31. Went at it one time, got a reception, 31 yards, but after that, like you said, they were shorter routes, just trying to get completions and move the ball down the field against Rice.
Somebody said here swoops 2.0. I probably wouldn't. I wouldn't go that far. We'll see where he is, man. It's his second start. It's his second start, just like it's Hudson Card's second start. It was his first start against Rice. He got him to a win, and he looked much better in the second half than he did in the first half. And I think more than his arm, you're gonna have to worry about this guy's leg. You're talking about 6'3", 245 pounds, not easy to bring down once he gets to the second level. There's going to be multiple linebackers and probably safeties and cornerbacks that are going to have to bring that big guy down. So you definitely want to limit. Really, I'm more concerned about his rush ability than I am his pass ability. And I think what you have to do is you got to make him one-dimensional, make him throw the ball, and Pete Kwiatkowski run multiple coverages, stand a couple of guys up, put them down, and make him figure it out. Again, it's his second start. If you go back and look at it, he's a 1 read, 2 read, maybe at the most kind of guy. And I think what you could do is confuse him and put him in long pass positions that'll make him make mistakes. Yeah,
that's what you want to do. I do want to recognize one basketball comment real quick because it's a super chat. Jesse, our normal basketball guy, comes in with Coach Beard on his Hearts and Minds tour on campus. Yeah, I saw his fireside chat. He brings students on, a couple of students. They talk about dining, different, their degree plans, all in an effort to bring folks out to the Frank Irwin Center in its last year, and then as they transition over to the Moody Coliseum. But thanks, Jesse, for that $1.99. I did see Coach Beard's fireside chat. I think it's a really cool deal. I think it's for the first time I've ever seen a basketball coach be as active, on social and on platforms like YouTube, selling the basketball program to fans and students.
I think he has to, because again, it goes back to Irwin Center and you're watching these games, and the only time you get really hellacious crowds or excited crowds is when those big names come in. And so you got a new center opening up. Moody Center's going to be opening up soon. You got to get the Texas Longhorn fans getting excited about basketball. And I think that's the best way to do it, is get a coach in here that's fiery, that is willing to get out there and do a fireside chat and get on social media and be personable. I think that's what you have in these coaches right now. In majority of your big programs is personable coaches that are able to talk to the fans like they're a fan, like they're a person. And I think that's important to be able to grow those things.
Yeah, he definitely gets it.
There's one thing I wanted to bring up here. I did listen to Sarkisian's presser. Really short, man, really short. And I want to kind of add a comment to that really quick. He said, "Did y'all understand from Sark's presser today that Troy Murray would not play this weekend?" He seemed vague on that. The way I see it is he's not going to answer. He's not going to start like Tom Herman used to go through and talk about, who's injured and who's going to play and who's not going to play. He's not starting his pressers out there I think, for a reason. He's not going to answer those questions unless he's asked. And I think he's going to be very vague about who he tells you who's going to start and who's not going to start. He did put out that I think 𝗟𝗚𝗓 is going to start this week. Wiley's a game time decision. And I think what he's getting to is Troy Omeire is just going to need a little bit more time. They want to make sure he's fully healthy before they get him out there. I think you have some time. Arkansas, Rice, if you let him heal over the next couple of weeks, maybe you get him back, Arkansas, Rice, Texas Tech at home. And then you have TCU on the road. And then you have Oklahoma. To me, let's let him heal all the way up and really till about that TCU road game. And then hopefully he's prepared by the end. I just give him his time. The other thing I wanted to bring up from his presser is he reminded me of, if you had an opportunity to go look at Nick Saban's presser yesterday and the way that he answers questions, not in a demeaning way, but in a way that I don't want you to overhype my players, because I need them ready and I don't want them to feed into what they're reading or what they're hearing from the fan base and the media pundits, which I thought was really, really cool. Because I think Saban, he's talking about that snake. What is it? Snake poison yesterday, or rat poison. He was talking about rat poison yesterday because he said we played half of a damn game and then we let them. I think the score was like 17-16 in the second half, and he wasn't having it. And I think that's the way Steve Sarkisian says it. Everybody we play is a faceless opponent. So we're not going to get up for this game. We're not going to get up for this game. We're not going to overhype ourselves because we have somewhere else we got to be this week to play. And I think I enjoyed it. It's nice to hear.
Yeah. Don't know where to follow that. Kind of went on for a while. No, Troy Omeire. So yeah, definitely compensation. He was off an ACL, came back in the fall. Don't know if he was rushed back or rushed himself back to be ready for fall camp. But you just want to make sure that he's totally healthy when he comes back, that he's not having to deal with nagging injuries that continue to hamper his career and his production at UT. So yeah, definitely make sure he's healthy before he comes back. And then, why would you let folks know that? Like, you want to keep your game plan as close to the best as you possibly can. So, if you got a surprise that maybe coming out for the first time, you might want to keep that concealed to not allow Arkansas or any other team to prep or game plan for it.
Yeah, this comment, you talked about it. I really appreciate the even kill manner that Sark is emphasizing to the team. It doesn't matter. It's all the same.
Yeah,
we haven't heard that they've had a good practice on a Monday or a Sunday good practice. None of that stuff. We come out and work. We got to do what we do, and we'll see where we're at on game day. Focus on us. I
think you put pressure on yourself if you you can't wax and wane. Like, the message has always got to be the same. You got always got stuff to work on. You're happy about certain things, but you're not going to give other teams bulletin board material, like you said, about overhyping your players. You're not going to want to give your game plan. Just like you said, be even keeled, because that's the kind he said that early. He said we had a bad position in the first game against Louisiana. We had to punt with 3 and out. They got the ball, drove down, got that first field goal, took that lead, but nobody panicked. Everybody's even keeled. They trusted each other. They did their job. But yeah, that's it. Definitely looks like his mentality or his demeanor definitely, works with the team.
So you think the offense? Let's talk. We talked about obviously defense. Our defense against their offense. Do you think our offensive game plan changes this week against Arkansas?
If I'm the offense coordinator, it doesn't. Like, I'm going to continue to run Bijan until they stop it. Again, he was very productive. 27 total touches for 176 and 2 touchdowns. I continue to ride him out and then maybe open up the passing game just a little bit to give teams something to look at. But I need more guys getting open than Jordan Whittington. I do expect him to have a good game again. I expect him to back up last week's performance with probably a similar performance. He is definitely going to be my wide receiver to watch out for this week. But I think you start with the run. You establish the run. You keep running until they stop it. If they start dropping guys down in the box, then you do exactly what we talked about. You change to an RPO or play action system. Yeah,
I think the biggest thing for me this week is probably the 3rd and longs. Obviously in hostile territory, you don't want to find yourself in the 3rd down situations we had last week. You're talking about we went 8 for 10 on passing on 3rd down, but to me, I don't think you want to put Hudson Card in that situation where he's 3rd and 11, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9. I think we need to start faster on 1st down, manageable 2nd down, so that you have a manageable 3rd down. I think again, did it work last week? Absolutely. Do I think you need to stay away from it and probably give them better down and distance on third down? Absolutely. But I think obviously what I'm looking at is those five wide matchups. For some reason, I don't know what the offensive line did to adjust when we were in five wide, but there wasn't a lot of pressure. And I don't know if that's because you spread the defense out so wide at that particular point that you didn't have, it was just mano-a-mano. But if you go back and look at our five wides, it put them in matchup nightmares, because you literally took the same people that you had, maybe like a 12 or a 22 personnel set, and you literally spread everybody out. And you were able to maximize your opportunities on them, I think, based on putting people in mismatch nightmares. And then go ahead, Jeremy.
Yeah, let me get on this one real quick. So yeah, more guys in the box, right? 22 personnel. You're gonna have your linebacker squeezed in, your safety squeezed in. Allows for them to play games with you. You know which guy's coming, which guy's dropping. When you got five wide, it's basically like you just described, mono and mono. Hey, I know what my assignment is. It's easy for me to read that and pick that guy up. And again, you're talking about a pretty decent offensive line group that like I said, Steve Sarkisian graded out better than I did initially. But it allows you to pick up your guy, because everything else is on the periphery. So you're matching up. You don't have to really worry about, anybody blitzing. Mostly when you're in five wide, you're looking to get the ball out pretty quick and allow the wide receivers to block downfield for their buddy and get him sprung.
Which I think this Rich Walker's talking about here. Can we see more screens slow down the pass rush this week? I think what you could. I think it's just wide receiver screens or running back screens, both of them. To slow down that pass rush, to get your guys in space. The best block I seen the entire game last week was from Washington, Marcus Washington, on that touchdown that Whittington scored. Unbelievable. And I think Sark talked about it in Rewind on Monday. He played 8 plays, and out of those 8 plays, that one block might have been the best block that we had the entire game. In Worthy, I think had the highest. If you go back and look at Pro Football Focus, I think Worthy actually graded out the highest of the wide receivers from the blocking. You can actually see it. So for a little dude, the way little see he is, man, he's willing to get his hands on you, man, in blocking. I think that's important. But I think, to slow down that pass rush, to get these guys off of you. One, you want to obviously set it. You want to be physical. And you want to win the run. But I think if you start seeing a pass rush, I think Hudson's probably going to get the ball's out of his hands pretty fast and in space and make these guys tackle you. The one linebacker is going to be out for the first part of the game. I think it's the top linebacker, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Bumper Pool. And the guy that actually replaced him is terrible in coverage. So we definitely need to take advantage of that in the first half of the game. He definitely doesn't cover well in space. He's not. He's one of these what you would consider probably an original linebacker that just plays in a box and is willing to stop the run, but he's definitely not good in space. And I think that's where you have an opportunity to put your tight ends in a position where they may be able to play really well this weekend.
Yeah, no arguments with me. And guys are talking about they want to see deep balls. Again, I don't necessarily need to see deep balls from Hudson again. Yeah, you want to take the top off the defense and make them play honest every now and then. But if you're ahead of the chains, like we know the further downfield to throw, the more likely an incompletion. Find yourself behind the chains. But definitely you need to mix it up. I definitely agree with that. But don't need to see a whole lot of deep balls. I think we execute pretty well with that RPO game, intermediate passing and trying to run to open space. But yeah, will you see it? Absolutely. And I think it's a necessity. Not at this point.
Terry Freeman, those outside screens had more as lead blocker a few times, and it didn't work. I'm trying to figure out what and I would love to know what the average gain is on any outside screen, wide receiver screen, because I'm thinking if I can get a wide receiver screen, for 3 or 4 yards on first down, I'm good at sitting there at 2nd and 5, 2nd and 6, 2nd and 6.
Run. Yeah,
to me, it's an extended run. So if I could get 3 or 4 yards every time on an outside screen, I'm never going to blow those things up. Do I think we have some PTSD from some of those outside screens from the previous? Yeah, but I think this head coach is looking forward, meaning that he's going to set something up outside of to run an outside screen to set something else up later in the game, maybe like a double move. And I think maybe an opportunity. These guys are really they will play some press coverage, but I think they are aggressive, and I think you may have an opportunity to do a couple of double moves as well, like you've seen with Worthy last week on his 34-yard reception as well.
Yeah, 4 to 6 yards is generally what you're going to look for with an outside screen, but it does have potential to bust, again, because you're outside, mano a mano, you're not in there with the big guys and having to elude a bunch. If you can bust one, get one good block and bust it, make a move and bust it, or bust the tackle, then you're down the sideline. So, yeah, what you're looking for is an extension of the run game. Get the ball on the perimeter. 4 to 6 yards is generally what you're looking to get ahead of the chains. And then if you're able to bust one, then you're further down the field and you're probably rolling the chains up and moving them down the field for another 4 downs. But, yeah, I like that game when it's executed well. Does it have the potential to get blown up sometimes? Absolutely, but all plays do.
But I think this is where, as a fan base, we had I also myself had to pull back the reins and understand you're probably not going to have a guy that's going to go for 174 yards on 24 carries, rushing and getting in receiving, and think that I'm going to see Hudson Card get out here and pass for 400 yards to the wide receivers as well. Because again, you want to use Bijan. Everybody will talk about using Bijan. You use Bijan, right? 174 yards, he damn near the entire offense. But at the same time, you also had a 100-yard receiver last week. So it doesn't matter who gets it. I don't care if Xavier Worthy gets 100 yards this week, or if Joshua Moore gets 100 yards this week, or if it's Jordan Whittington. I think being able to have, a guy that goes for 174 yards, both passing and receiving, your bell cow, both for 174 yards on 24 carries. But at the same time, you had someone that went for 113 total yards is what it was, I believe, receiving from Whittington. You can't argue with that each and every week. And I'm not going to sit up and beat up the offense because you went out there and scored 37 points. Which, is really, really, really good. So
yeah, 38 to 18 is the stat, right? So you want to go out there and execute well. Our goal was to hold, or Pete Witkowski's goal, not mine, was to hold opponents under 20 points, which he did. You're right at that 40 yards or 40 points per game average that you were at last year. That's the number one stat to me. Like you said, our individual stats, Bijan going for 250, Hudson throwing for 350, any wide receiver, or 2 or 3 wide receivers, getting 100 yards of completions with a couple touchdowns. I think it's going to be versatile. I think you're going to see different guys leading stat lines other than Bijan. I think he's going to be a central figure, of course. And then, but I think you mix guys in, and if they roll coverage to Whittington's side or put a safety over the top of him this week, is counterpunch to his performance last week. Then you got to Worthy and Moore and those guys got to get open and make the plays.
Yeah, I think if you look at it, we don't usually get a lot of chats from Twitter, so I wanted to pull it out here. I like to see both Robinsons in the backfield, a lot of options there, and again, because you do have options, and you've seen it with Roschon and Bijan quite a bit this week, and I think there's a chance that you're probably going to see 22 personnel quite a bit. You're going to see 2 tight ends and 2 running backs quite a bit. If you want to play in a box, let's play in a box, and I think that's the way you have it. But at the same time, you're able to, like Sark talked today in his presser, when they're looking at running backs, they want guys that are not just running backs. They want guys that can catch out of the backfield, really wide receivers. Wide receivers. That's what he's looking for in a running back is someone that's also like a wide receiver, running back combination, so that they can split these guys out and put them in matchup nightmares like they did Bijan Robinson when he took that skinny post last weekend almost to the house. So I think you'll see that stuff. I think, again, you're not going to see the same formations over and over and over again, which excites the hell out of me. Working man talking about ball control from this last weekend. Wore them out, man. I think the defense was on the field for 26 plays in the first half. Yeah,
and Richard's hitting the nail on the head why it was like that. I don't think people realize who weren't in Austin understand how hot it was. We didn't run plays. I think Sark was trying to win and keep guys fresh. Again, they rotated through. We talked about snap counts on Monday's press or Monday's show, with the snap counts of the defensive line, the guys being fresh, because that's going to be important. Like that wear and tear that you take in September, you may wear in October, November. So it's very important and it helps production from the guys down the depth chart. Like they get in, get plays. It's nice to see that. And you're probably going to get another chance. I think some semblance of that this weekend, but then more of that against Rice. I still think, and I won't spoil my predictions, I think we're about to get there, is our quick fire predictions. But I think we're going to win this game by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. So let's get there, man. We get there. We don't want to keep any here. Got the Dallas Cowboy fans probably on here. If not, probably got some NFL guys probably want to watch a game tonight, probably settle in, do what they got to do before. That's why we decided to do a 6 o'clock show. I was like, Jeremy, I can try to get in here as early as I can. Jeremy's coming straight from work. Hell, I'm coming in straight from traffic, still have work clothes on. I'm like, let's get behind the computer and do what we got to do before this starts. So, all right, quick fire. Me and Jeremy are kind of changed up some of the questions that we did from last week. Keep y'all on y'all's toes. We didn't ask total passing yards last week from Hudson Card. What do we got?
And just a reminder, you guys are supposed to be putting your predictions in the chat at the same time we're going with ours. So for Hudson Card, I got 270 yards.
270 yards. All right, I'm going to go a little bit under that. I think I'm going to go 250. I'm going to go 250. So I'm going to go 250, and the reason I'm going to go 250 because I think we will have some. I think we'll be able to run the ball this weekend.
Okay,
I think we'll go. So I'm going to go 250. Yeah,
I just think Casey got about a quarter of time, and Hudson still ended up with a little over 220, 230. So I think he can. And we really didn't have any huge explosive plays. Like we didn't bust any big ones, other than Bijan hitting the crosser, and then Whittington busting like 9 tackles on a run. But yeah, I'm at 270.
I'm actually going to. So I'm going to give touchdowns. I'm going to give touchdowns as well. I'm going to actually go 250. 250, 2 receiving touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. I think he actually has 3 total touchdowns this week. Again.
Yeah, I'm good with 2 receiving, no rushing.
Okay. All right. How many yards obviously you're going to try to run the ball, both quarterback and with their running back. How many yards does the defensive line give up this weekend?
Defensive line gives up right at 100 yards.
I'm gonna go 125. I think they're going to be able to run the ball, and I think it's because they're going to run it probably 40 times, try to establish a run game. Do I think the average is probably going to be a little lower? Yeah, I think the average will be low, and I think we'll be able to outrush them. I think that they're going to show up. I think the offensive line may be a little bit hurt by what they did this last weekend against Louisiana. I think the other thing is that we're better at run blocking than we are pass blocking. And I think we'll probably run upwards, probably 175 yards ourselves. So I think we outrush them, but I definitely think they'll get over 120. I think 125 yards is where I'm going with Will. And Jeremy's writing it down.
I'm only writing mine down.
Oh, I thought you were writing mine down. Got to hold us accountable here, man.
I'm trying.
All right. Next thing, Jordan Whittington obviously led the receivers last week in receiving yards. Who leads in receiving this week?
Jordan Whittington.
You going Jordan Whittington?
I am.
All right. This is when you see Reggie Bush type numbers this weekend in Arkansas from Bijan Robinson. I think Bijan Robinson leading rusher and leading wide receiver this weekend. And it's not because the other receivers aren't playing and they don't have receptions. I just think you see some Reggie Bush numbers from Bijan Robinson this weekend. I think it's a big game. It's under the lights. It's on ESPN. I think Sarkisian scored 52 points against Arkansas last year with Alabama's offense, right? I think he's going to find ways to scheme Bijan open, and I think Bijan's probably going to be your leading wide receivers. I'm going to say he's going to have over 150 yards receiving as well. I think he has close to – honestly, I think Bijan will probably have close to 300 yards, total yards this weekend out of Arkansas. That may be a hot take, but that's kind of where I'm at. All right.
No, it's definitely doable. Like I said, he didn't really have – other than the post route on the linebacker, he really didn't have any huge explosive plays. And I know he has that in him. He has 60-yard catches and 60-yard runs in his body. We've seen it before.
All right, here we go. Plus or minus 2 turnovers. We had 1 turnover this weekend. I think we had a couple. Of them. BJ Foster missed on an interception there on the sideline. Plus or minus 2 turnovers.
Push. I think it's 2. I think the number's 2.
I think the number's 2 as well. I think 2. You walk out of there with 2 turnovers against Arkansas. It's almost, I think, 90% chance you're going to win the football game. So I think you got to get out there and plus 2 in the turnover category. I don't think we're necessarily lead them, but we don't want to turn the ball over. But 2 turnovers I see us getting this week.
And that's an important fact on the other end too. You talked about it too, and I think I may have said it as well. Hudson Card's first road game. Protect the ball. Got to protect the ball. Can't put it on the ground. Bijan's shown a history of not being able to, or not putting the ball on the ground, not fumbling. We need to keep that up. Like no giving the ball to Arkansas. Don't give them a semblance of life.
Texas T-Sip Central, he's a content creator here on YouTube as well. Shout out to him, man. He said 300 yards, question mark, are you saying? I guess I am. I don't think it's so much a hot take, man. I think that, again, you have a guy in Bijan Robinson, one of the top players in the nation. You watch Texas football just like we are. I just think I'm circling the 300 yards. Y'all just can't see it with my mouse there. But I think it's possible. You got a guy that can take one to the house on a rush, but you also got a guy that can take one skinny post and take it 80 yards. I just think he's about as close to Reggie Bush as you can possibly get, minus probably the speed. And I think Steve Sarkisian is going to put him in a position to do big things here in Fayetteville, Arkansas this weekend. Score prediction.
35-21 Texas.
I'm going with my same score from Louisiana game. 34-17. 34-17. I think that PK is going to hold them under 20. I think, again, we're not Alabama by any sort of imagination. Alabama went in there and beat them 52-3 last year. I think that PK will pick up systems. I think he's going to look at systems. I think he's going to see what worked against their offense last year. They obviously had a seasoned quarterback in Felipe Franks last year. They have someone that's starting their second game this year. I think PK is going to load up the box and make those guys run or make those guys have to pass it. And I think he's going to put him in position where he's going to have to make mistakes this weekend. I'm going 34-17 Texas, and we walk away Arkansas 2-0. You know, the last time we had a coach that was 2-0?
Mac Brown?
Nope.
Who was it?
Keep going back.
Fred Akers.
Fred Akers was the last 2-0 coach to start their career off. Imagine that. Yeah, let's get it. Who we got here? We got another super chat here. What are the odds that the crowd chants SEC after the whoop 'em? For us, I mean, after we whoop. Absolutely the hell not. Not gonna happen, man. I don't know, man.
Dude. Odds to me odds would be
50%,
2-1. Yeah, 2-1. Yeah, I don't have a clue because the whole time that we were talking the expansion piece and going over there, we said we'd be damned if we did it when we weren't there. But we have a small segment of the market that watches us and listens to us and follows us on social. So our ideas may be a little bit jaded, but I think it's 50-50, to be honest with you. I just want to win the game, man. I want to win the game.
I think it's possible. I think it's really, really possible. I think it's possible, and I think they just be an ass, man. I think it's probably going to happen. So, any other comments before we get off here?
I did have one real quick because I didn't get a chance to listen to the press conference today, and I don't know if this was addressed, but just real quick, Wes watches the show, always comments, really, really, really good comments. I'm over the Casey Thompson experiment. Please stick to one quarterback and let Carter prove as it goes. I don't know that it's an experiment. I just think he feels the need to that both players have played well. I mean, against Louisiana, both players played well, and I just don't know if he's going to continue to do this. I don't know if he had any comments about that or if he was asked about that, playing two quarterbacks. But I think as you get into after Rice and you start going on the road to TCU and Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, I think snaps will probably be divided a little bit more towards the starter and a little bit less to whoever's the back of that particular point. Right now, it looks like Hudson's going to be the starter, so I got to come out and say that Hudson's snaps will increase as you get into conference play, and cases would decrease. But I don't know if he addressed it or not.
Yeah, he did. He addressed it. He said both quarterbacks play this weekend, but he always leaves it up to the point where it's only going to when he feels it's right. So if he never felt it was right during the game, then he's not going to play. But I think at the same time, he knows he's got two good quarterbacks. Knock on wood, you hope that nothing happens to Hudson Card. And I think he thinks it's important to get these guys game time or game playing time. You're playing your same defense each and every day, something you're getting used to. And I think it's if there's an opportunity out there like he did, hell, he put Roschon in in a what do you call it last weekend? He played quarterback one play. You know what I'm saying? So you actually had three guys that played quarterback last weekend because he took Roschon was the They don't run it very much anymore, but what do they call it? Damn. He took a snap.
Oh, the Wildcat.
Wildcat. Yeah, he ran a Wildcat last weekend. So you had 3 quarterbacks actually get play last weekend. So I just think he leaves it open to be able to. Thank you, Candace Queen Bee. She helped me out as well in the comments box. But I just think he leaves it open to play him or not play him the way that he words it. But I don't think it's an experiment either. I think you just got to get.
You don't want to touch that one.
No, I don't want to touch that one at all.
Okay, I'll touch this one. You guys are Cowboys fans, right? How much are y'all beating the Bucs by tonight? I don't think we're going to go in and beat Tampa Bay. But again, I do want to see the offense with Dak play well, and I think they will. I do want to see the defense be much improved, which I think they will. With the linebackers, getting better and playing the system that they want to play in, and you're talking about Randy Gregory, and I think DeMarcus Lawrence is going to play. And again, you got Dak back. The receiving core is probably the best in the NFL, and then Zeke has lost a lot of weight. So I'm fired about the game. I mean, like Clint said, it kicks off in about 24 minutes, so I'll definitely be watching it. But I just don't know that you're going to walk into Tampa Bay against the defending Super Bowl champions who returned all their starters and beat Tom Brady. But I'm cheering for them, and I'm hoping for it.
Yeah. No, I just want to see a clean game. Obviously, we want to see the Cowboys win. Go 1-0 start the season. Like Jeremy said, you want to see Dak come out there and move the ball down the field. Defense got to be more consistent, man. They were gross last year. You know what I'm saying? So as long as they're not gross this year and made some marked improvements moving into, and I think it's a good game on a Thursday night against Super Bowl winners. It's show you where your team's at right up top because they didn't lose anybody from what I understand. They didn't lose anybody from their Super Bowl team. So. What better way to start off? I just want to talk about this real quick. After all these years, we complained our second quarterback wasn't getting any reps. Now we're complaining that he is. We could put ourselves in situations where we were winning by enough to get our second string quarterback in the game. Now we put ourselves in a situation where you're winning by a couple of touchdowns in the fourth quarter, and you got a guy that's really doesn't. It's not. There's not a big difference between the two, in Sark's eyes. So it's not like you're going to a pure second string quarterback. You're really going from I hate to say it, from like a 1A to a 1B because he could probably do the same things that Hudson Card's doing on the field as well. All righty.
I think we're good.
I think we're good, man. We took it for 58 minutes, and we're going to go here and try to find some food, I think, and get ready for this Cowboys game. So, hey, we appreciate you as always. Y'all hit that like button there. If you would not mind, let me take that one off so you can see what's going on here. Please hit that like button. If you have not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. We really appreciate it. We'll see you on Saturday post game, 30 to 45 minutes after the game is over. Come join us. That's a fun time. Hopefully it's a real good time after we kick the shit out of Arkansas on Saturday night there in Fayetteville, Arkansas. But again, hit that like button. Please subscribe. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Oh yeah. And I'll have the pregame or the in-game chat up. We'll have that up for you guys to chat back and forth during the game. And like Clint said, 30 to 45 minutes. It's going to be a late one. The game starts at 6, probably get over about 10 o'clock. So we'll be on probably about 10:30. We'll probably be 30, 45 minutes, maybe an hour if we feel good about a Longhorn win. Yeah, just excited to get to Saturday.
Yep. All right. So you can find us on Facebook at Texas Football Talk, on Instagram at Texas Football Talk, and on Twitter at TX Football Talk. You can also find our podcast on the Pigskin Podcast Network. All you got to do is type in Texas Football Talk on your search bar in whatever podcast platform you listen to. We appreciate you listening as always, and y'all have a wonderful day and hook 'em.
Hook 'em.